I don't really ask for anything other than to spend time with people, get to learn about them. And then secondly, if there's an opportunity for us to work with them from a Censinet perspective, even the better, right?
Welcome back to the award-winning Healthtech Marketing Show, the show for healthcare technology marketers who want to grow pipeline, not just presence. I'm Adam Turinas, and whether this is your first episode or your 51st, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your support. We've got over 130 episodes in the library, so if you like what you hear today, there's a lot more to explore. Make sure you follow or subscribe so you never miss any of our episodes. And a big thank you to our friends at Healthcare Now Radio for sponsoring the show. They run a 24/7 healthcare-only radio network with a podcast syndication network. And they've been an incredible partner to us in getting this show in front of more of the right people like you. So big shout out to Roberta and Carol. We love working with you and we're really grateful. Now, one of the questions that comes up quite a lot is, should you start a podcast? Is this something that would be good for your company? And if you already have one, are you thinking about it the right way? Are you getting what you hoped for out of it? Today, I'm joined by two guests who have together built one of the most distinctive shows in health tech. Ed Gaudet, who's the CEO and founder of Censinet, a risk management and GRC platform serving hundreds of healthcare providers, and his brother, the amazing Mark Gaudet, who's the director of market development at Censinet. And he is the host of their incredibly successful podcast, which I think has had over 200 episodes now. And it's called Risk Never Sleeps. We're going to get into the real business value of podcasting. And we're going to look at things like why persistence through at least the first 6 episodes is absolutely critical. And most importantly, we're going to get into how a podcast can become a real source of pipeline. And it has done for the guys at Censinet, and it certainly has done for us here at Health Launchpad with the Healthtech Marketing Show. So we're going to get into that. So with that, let's get on and meet Ed and Mark. This is a first on the Healthtech Marketing Show. I have never had two brothers on the show.
Oh boy.
And you're both brothers, right?
Unfortunately.
So welcome to the show, Mark and Ed Gaudet, right?
Yes.
And I'm pronouncing it correctly. It's not Gaudet.
No, you can say Gaudet too. Yeah.
It's great to have you on the show. I've known Ed for about a decade because...
At least, yeah.
Yeah, because, when I had Unify Health, we were sort of looking at the work that you were doing with Cortex at Imprimatur and drooling and saying, oh, we should... Anyway, so in the end, actually, I did all right because I hired your former marketing guy, Mark Gaudet.
Yeah.
And Mark, I've got to know you through Ed over the last year or so, and it's been a real pleasure because you are, well, no, you're like the ultimate guerrilla marketer.
Oh, no.
Not gorilla marketer. So give us the sort of the 30-second intro on you and the company, and then let's get into the topic, which is podcasting.
Sure. Ed Gaudet, CEO, founder of a company called Censinet. And we're focused on risk management, third-party enterprise risk management, GRC, for healthcare. So all we do is healthcare, a couple hundred healthcare providers on one side of our network and over 55,000 vendors and products on the other side of the network.
And Mark Gaudet, Director of Market Development at Censinet and producer of Risk Never Sleeps podcast.
Risk Never Sleeps. Now, I've got a t-shirt, Risk Never Sleeps, which is one of the finest t-shirts I've ever had.
Thank you.
Beautifully produced. And how many episodes have you done?
Today, we just celebrated 200.
200. Well, we're at 116, I think. So,
yeah.
But I don't think we're not...
It's a lot, though, isn't it? Just to get to past 25.
Yes. In fact, actually, when I started the podcast, I sort of gave up after 6 and then I came back
You did?
Yeah, because it was called something else beforehand. And then I came back and did the Healthtech Marketing Show. And
most never make it past 25.
They don't.
Yeah.
So you've been doing the podcast for how long now?
About 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
3 years. It was 3 years in February.
Yeah. What was the impetus behind starting it? It sounds like an obvious question, but it's not actually.
Yeah, no, it's not. There was a marketing guy that worked for me who said I should have my own podcast. And at the time, I had created a manifesto and I'd personified risk. And one of the lines I used was "Risk never sleeps" in the manifesto. And so he thought that was catchy. We could call it the Risk Never Sleeps podcast. Risk Never Sleeps came out of not just the personification, but I love music. And it was a Neil Young album back in the 70s. Rust Never Sleeps. So I took
what does this?
Rust Never Sleeps.
Rust Never
yeah.
Sleeps.
So
Okay.
it's Crazy Horse with Neil Young. So I love that, the duality of those two things. But the interesting thing is, and this was during the pandemic, he never got it launched. And I ran into another marketeer, and he was able to really simplify the process.
Yeah.
And we launched our first one in 2023.
Yeah, February 2nd.
Right.
2023. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, so it's really
Yeah, 3 years. Yeah. Yeah.
That's amazing.
And it's been a whirlwind. It's been crazy. And, for me, what I really love is to learn about the people behind the jobs and the roles, which a lot of podcasts don't cover. They cover the technology. And we could spend all day talking about tech, but I want to know about you as a person, your journey. And I always find people have really interesting stories, but for some reason they're guarded. They don't want to share them. And so for me, getting people to open up and share their story is really what it's all about.
So who would you have on the show? What's his typical guest?
Yeah, started off focused on CIOs and CISOs, but we've expanded. We've added vendors. We had GE Healthcare on today. I just had the CISO from Renown Healthcare. We've had a CIO before that. So we have everything from practitioners on the provider side to third-party vendors and suppliers into the ecosystem of healthcare. And we've also had some special guests. We had one of the main designers for Atari back in the day. Yeah. Howard Scott Warshaw.
He had designed the video game E.T. that supposedly
killed Atari.
Game crash of 1980.
Yeah. And we brought him on one day because it was a documentary we were watching together.
And I said to Ed, I'm connected to him on the come on. And he said, I don't know. And
he got him.
Message and 5 minutes later, and Howard said, sure, I'll come.
And he is an interesting guy because
3 times he came out.
3 times. And he remade himself throughout his career into different roles. And now he's a psychologist
he's a therapist to Silicon Valley.
To Silicon Valley founders.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a really interesting guy.
Yeah.
But he also designed a number of successful games too, but everyone remembers him for the failure.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting, I thought.
Yeah. So people who listen to this show, both of them, are typically a healthcare technology marketer. So they are, they're somebody Mark. They're what Mark does. And they are interested in how whatever we're talking about applies to what they do. So what's been the value to Censinet of the podcast?
Yes. So 2 things. So when I started the company, I obviously needed and had a for-profit mission. Obviously, every company does.
Yes.
But in healthcare, with the shared mission that one has with your customers, I wanted to do something where I could give back to the community. And so I do that in a couple different ways. This is one way of giving back to the community. So that's really important. So I don't really ask for anything other than to spend time with people, get to learn about them. And then secondly, if there's an opportunity for us to work with them from a Censinet perspective, even the better, right?
Yeah.
So, but that's not why we do it. And I've been on these podcasts where it's been a bait and a switch, and I don't like it.
Yeah,
I
don't either.
Yeah,
I've seen.
You know what I mean?
And you know what? They're usually terrible podcasts.
Terrible podcasts. Yeah.
Very boring.
Yeah.
And they're usually the ones that don't last more than 6
And they're trying
episodes.
to sell me something.
Yeah.
Really, that's why
Come
I'm
on.
there.
Yeah, it's come on. Yeah. But what about the brand value and
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't really know. I don't measure it that way. So I probably should. And I'm sure there is a lot of value in having 200 episodes out there, right? And we don't take advertising. So I don't know if you do.
We have a sponsor.
So
we do. We sponsor. We have Healthcare Now Radio sponsor, and we love them. In fact, one of the best things I did was get involved. We're on the syndication network.
Oh, yeah.
It is 5x'd our exposure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to talk to you after.
Yeah, we should definitely. I'll put you in touch with them. They're wonderful. They're just they're so great to work with. They're just buttoned up and awesome. Yeah. Anyway, enough about them. More about you.
Yeah.
So interesting, because I'll tell you what I've found is that I have almost given up this podcast so many times because it's like, why am I doing this? We got 37 downloads. What's the point of this?
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. But what happened was every time I go to the Sway Health show, right?
Yes.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
Colin, John, and Brittany, they run a wonderful show.
Yeah.
People come up and say, hey, by the way, I love your podcast. Thank you. And I was like, okay, so you're one of the listeners, but you're one of the other listeners. But actually, there turns out there are quite a few of them. And I realized, well, actually, back when we were getting maybe, less than 100 exposures per episode,
Yeah.
that's not 100 people.
Right.
That's over the course of a year. That's actually, 5,000 people, 5,000, but it's actually not 5,000. It's probably like 2,000 or 3,000 people that are listening to one or two episodes, maybe a core that are listening to quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Since we've actually syndicated this, it's boosted. I mean, we're getting, sort of close to, between 500 and 700 per episode now.
Wow.
And that's, thanks largely to syndication and to marketing it. But what happens is that I find that, I'll have a call with a prospect and they say, oh yeah, I listened to your show episode.
Yeah.
And in fact, somebody from Healthcare Now Radio came up to me yesterday and said, hey, by the way, you said as a customer because of the podcast. I was like, yes.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So it's interesting. It works. It's more effective than we realize.
I know. It's incredible. I'll tell you a story that for me was really moving. And just when I think about this experience, it really touches to the core reason why I do this. So a year ago, I received an email from the wife of someone I had interviewed. So he was a CIO at a small community hospital and he had passed away. And so her message was, hey, you don't know me. I'm the wife of this individual. He died a couple months ago, but I want you to know we found your podcast and your interview with him and we took pieces of it and we put it into his memorial video. And we wanted to just let you know that and thank you for that. So I'm getting chills now.
I too. I'm getting choked up. Yeah.
So I literally was going to respond to her right away, but I'm like, you know what? If I respond to her right away, I want to carry this with me for like 30 days.
Yeah.
Because I want to just process it.
Yeah.
So I waited. I responded 30 days after, and I told her why I delayed.
Right.
She sent me the video of the memorial service, which I watched with my wife one night. Of course, I was bawling, but what was incredible was not only did she take segments of it, he actually narrated his memorial video based on the conversations, based on the questions I was asking him. And she said, we learned so much about him that we didn't know through your podcast.
That's incredible.
Isn't that incredible?
Oh, yeah.
So that to me was like, mind blowing. And if I can touch a life like that through this process,
that's extraordinary.
That's what makes it all worthwhile for me. So anyway.
That's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. I mean, I think about, being able to go back and listen to somebody who's passed. My father died a long time ago, but I wish I could hear his voice again.
Exactly. Yes. Wouldn't that be great? Before our mom died, we recorded her voice. She didn't know it. But I have this like 40-minute episode before the podcast, before we actually kicked off the podcast. We were talking about, hey, this is like a podcast.
I should get my mom on the podcast.
You should, though. I'm telling you. Because you get to interview her about her life and what she thought about when she was younger and what, that's what I really would have loved to do with my dad. And we had sort of a little bit of that experience with our mom. And it's incredible. I still have it saved and I listen to it now and then. But I hope I can leave that to my kids in some way,
Yeah. That's very, very special. So I've got about a few minutes left. I want to ask you, where do you think you're going with this? Do you have plans with it? Or is it just like, we're going to see where this train goes and we'll ride it?
It's a great question. I mean, I love to push the envelope and bring in guests that, quite frankly, are non-traditional, like Howard Scott, Warshaw, for example. We reached out to Jeremy Renner's publicist, Jeremy Renner's, because we were in LA.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to be here. Is that?
No, HIMS.
Oh, yeah, he's at HIMS.
Jeremy Renner's going to be on your show?
At HIMS. We could have had him on, but it was a cost, so it was outside of the budget. But it was interesting. He reached out. Yeah, could you imagine if we get like a Jeremy Renner on?
Like the message and what
we would have done it. Sure. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I think that's like, if I can do a couple of those shows, that would be kind of cool.
That's very.
I don't know where we're going with this. Where are you going with yours?
I think we're going to the same place. I wish I could say I've got a great vision for where I want to go with it, but it's really sort of two things I've focused on. So I had a blinding glimpse of the obvious, which is, hey, dummy, the way to get more people to listen to your show is to make a better show. So focus on the quality.
Yeah.
Don't let people I think a lot of early on, I was very timid, and I would ask people and just let them go, and they'd drone on. It's like, yeah, no, you're not letting people do that. So it's got to be and that means it means I have to ask interesting questions.
Yeah.
If I'm getting boring answers, I'm not asking them interesting enough
And
questions.
pivot in a way that keeps people listening, right? Yeah.
That's the other one thing. The other thing is mixing it up. So every other show is an interview, and it's usually about something like this, sort of general marketing thing.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm alternating it with an AI specific series, and it's much more educational.
Oh,
and so that one, I think it's going to be 6 or 7 parts by the time we're done.
Oh, interesting. So more theme oriented.
Yeah. So
That's a really interesting way to do it.
Specifically about the impact of AI on pipeline growth, not on content. Everybody's using it for content, but actually using it for increasing sales.
Yeah.
Not so much. And so that's what this has been, that series is about. And so it's been helpful doing it because it's forced me to actually learn it and develop
for your own business.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so my story.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I've had a few guests on, but mostly it's about sort of having that. And so that seems to be working well. Like somebody, in fact, I had a meeting with a prospect last week, and he'd reached out. He applied to join the Healthtech Marketing Network. Wonderful guy in Israel. And so, well, how did you find out about this? He says, I listened to one of your AI podcasts. And I said, I want to follow more. I want to find out more about.
Yeah.
And so that was like, oh, okay, that was good.
I like that approach. Like it's sort of like the intersection of webinars and podcasts where you get the theme. I'm going to steal that. All right. Thank you.
Hey, a quick word about a health launchpad. So everything Ed and Mark are describing, the prospect who discovers you through the podcast, the customer who says it was your content that tipped the decision, that's pipeline growth. And that's pipeline growth working exactly the way it should. But most health tech companies are leaving it on the table because content isn't connected to a real go-to-market strategy. At Health Launchpad, we work with health tech companies to turn content and marketing activity into measurable pipeline. Whether you're trying to build a demand engine, get more out of your ABM efforts, or figure out how AI fits into your GTM motion, we've done it, we're doing it for clients, and we can help you too. So if that resonates, go to healthlaunchpad.com and let's schedule a call. Now, let's get back to Ed and Mark. Last question to you both. Mark, I want you to answer first, if you would, which is advice to anybody out there saying, should we do a podcast? Or should we no, maybe there's better things we could be doing with our time?
Yeah, it's the first 6 months that's the hardest. So, because he wanted to do one every week, an episode when we first started, and getting people to come on was really tough.
Really tough.
Like, dude, I don't even know if we're going to be able to get one a month.
Yeah.
And it was right around the 6-month mark where we finally cracked it, and we were getting more and more people where there's more brand and people were, and I was able to get more folks on it. So, but that's that.
Stick at it.
You have to be really, really consistent, resilient, because it's in that first period where most people are just like, this isn't working.
Assume the first 6 months are going to be really tough. Because if you get beyond the first 6 months, that's great. How about you, Ed?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, but I'll give you a different reason. I think, be open to the journey and uncover things about yourself in the process that you might not have known.
Right.
Because I think starting off in this process, I didn't realize actually how good I was at actually interviewing people.
Yeah.
But I've worked at it too. It's been hard, but you're right. Like you got to figure out what questions to ask, when to ask them, when to pivot. You got to keep it interesting. And so I think if you stick with it, as Mark said, through those periods where it feels like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to
with it?
Yeah.
And learn the craft of interviewing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Ed and Mark, I'm so glad. It was great to get you on the show and love it. Again, the company is
Censinet
and the show is
Risk Never Sleeps.
Risk Never Sleeps. There'll be links in the show notes.
All right.
Thanks very much,
Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Well, that's a wrap on a conversation, as you can tell, I really enjoyed. Ed and Mark are friends, and I just love chatting with them. There's links to the Risk Never Sleep podcast down below. And so I really suggest you check them out. It's a great show. Here are my 4 takeaways. Number 1, podcasting is a pipeline tool. Full stop. Mark and Ed didn't build Risk Never Sleeps as a brand play. The relationships it creates, the trust it builds over 200 episodes, those turn into business. And my own experience backs this up. So recently, a podcast listener became a customer. And I had 2 calls in the last week where when I asked them, sort of, where did you find us? And they said, well, I was listening to your podcast and what I said resonated. So I thought they'd schedule a call to talk about an opportunity that they wanted to explore with me. The first 6 months are the hardest. So that's the second takeaway. And it's those first 6 months are the most important. So Ed's advice is simple. Most podcasts quit before month 6. The ones that make it past that threshold are the ones that develop momentum, attract guests, and start building a real audience. Treat the first 6 months as an investment, not ROI. And I found that myself. In fact, I would say, in my case, it took a few years for this podcast to really take off. So it took sort of persistence and sticking at something that was, for me, has been a labor of love. Takeaway number 3, syndication is a force multiplier. Exposure to this show jumped 5x after we joined the Healthcare Now Radio Network podcast syndication network. So if you're producing a podcast and not syndicating it, you're doing a ton of work and maybe only getting a fraction of the reach that you could be getting. Takeaway number 4, great interviewing is a craft and you need to learn it. Mark's insight that he discovered how good he was at interviewing by actually doing it is worth sitting with. The questions you ask shape the answers you get. Leaning in, pivoting, staying curious, that's what makes people keep listening. If today's show sparked something for you, whether it's thinking about your podcast differently or figuring out how to connect your content to pipeline growth, I'd love to have a chat with you. Connect with me on LinkedIn or book a call with me through the link down below. Nothing for sale here. We can just have a chat. And by the way, if you found this episode useful and you know somebody else who might do as well, go ahead and share it with them. I'd certainly be grateful to you, and who knows, they may be as well. Thanks for listening to the Healthtech Marketing Show. Until next time, I'm Adam Turinas.